and also I saw Jacob from Zora posted on the Purple channel saying that we should have a retroactive funding for Flink, which I 100% agree because I think that is the type of project that we need to fund more because literally it is a type of public good that benefits the entire community. So again, great work on that.
Awesome, thank you.
And yeah, of course. So I think to get started, I'm curious how you started to work on this project. Was it trying to solve a specific problem that you had for yourself, or what was the motivation for you to start working on Flink?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been on Farcaster for over a year and have been following along mostly on the dev side. So like just following around what changes are happening at the protocol layer. Um, and then over the summer got more deeply involved with actually participating. I'm just mostly a lurker on most social platforms. So
Yeah.
that's just always my natural tendency. But um, in August, like mid-August, I talked to Varun, so just caught up, and I told him I was gonna like actually start hacking on some stuff related to Farcaster, just to kind of. I like to do projects when I'm learning about things because it helps me actually like understand, have the like puzzle pieces fit in my head, um, and so really the motivating factor was just learn Farcaster inside and out. Um, how everything works from like protocol layer, but also how can clients integrate with it. Um, so that was the initial motivating factor. And actually, Flink didn't even
Hmm.
start out as a client. It like the first thing that I launched, and this started on like Labor Day weekend. I just spent the weekend hacking on it. Was the automated link tree for Farcaster users type uh, interface, and then from there, I sort of decided that I wanted to like I found that fun, and like I learned a lot about Farcaster in that project, and so I decided I wanted to work kind of more on it, and it kind of slowly just took form as a client. Uh, yeah,
Hmm.
so that yeah.
And I want to say hi to K-Mac. Literally the first person that has joined as audience in this call. So thank you. Yeah. So I actually I've looked around in the app. I think there's a few things that's really interesting. One is that you're using this Reddit style to display all the casts, right? So why did you choose this specific format? Is it because of personal taste or because of some other reason?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm mostly a lurker, and also like I'm doing a lot of stuff throughout the day, like
Yeah.
through Manifold, and also just like meeting people at meetings, and like just a lot. And I don't have time to like scroll through casts or even like Twitter. Like I don't really scroll through Twitter anymore. Um, and so I just needed some way that I could get a quick snapshot of like what are the most interesting topics that are like actively being engaged on for me, and also just like across the network. And so uh, that's where like initially it just started out as the homepage that you see now, where it's just trending casts, and then all the links. Like the only thing that it did was link out to Warpcast, so I could just easily um, reply to things or participate on the most active topics. Um, and then it evolved to like the thread style display, because again, like just like using Warpcast or anything like Twitter, like it just involves a lot of like scrolling, and my primary mode of consumption is through desktop. And so in like this thread style view, it's much easier to just parse all the information efficiently. I'm like maximizing
Hmm.
consumption here.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny, but yeah, it just makes it really easy for me to just I don't know, see what's interesting, see what are like the most like casts, see what all the like discussions are. It also makes it easy to see like I feel like the most interesting conversations are the ones that are massively threaded. So like it's just like basically replies back and forth between people, and like a feed, like a view with like it is on Flink with like the threaded view, makes it easy to find those types of discussions as well.
I would agree, and I would say that some of the most interesting content or conversations that I've read is like deep down in the reply of a reply of a reply. It's like basically two people just talking to each other uh, in a thread, and usually, it doesn't get surfaced if you just scroll through the whole thing. But if you click into the thread and get it all expanded, and then you can see the whole thing, and it's quite incredible. I'm actually interested in how you rank those content because when I was working on Farcaster, which is not called Abura, we had this we had this similar problem. Obviously, we were doing it in different contexts, in a DAO context, but we're trying to see how we can rank content. And obviously, I guess every single social media client had similar problem. They need to have some type of algorithm. So I'm curious, what is the current way of ranking those casts, and how do you think it's going to evolve in the future?
Yeah, so the way that actually, this is funny because I literally changed the algorithm today slightly.
Good.
So up until today, it only used likes and replies, and it was basically like a logarithm, inverse log function of like time. So anything that's like more recently liked has like a higher
Hmm.
weight versus anything that was like liked I don't know, a few days ago. And likes and recasts also had different weights. So I weighted likes more than recasts because likes were just, I don't know. I actually don't even know why I ended up doing that. But the the funny thing is like I didn't know what the algorithm should be, so I kind of literally just asked ChatGPT to build me an algorithm, and I just copy pasted that.
Yeah, good.
And I was gonna revisit it at some point, but surprisingly, it actually works pretty well. So I didn't really touch it until today. And today I touched it because there's actually a lot more bot accounts on Farcaster, and so
Yeah.
there's bots that are liking each other's content, and like it makes it like if you saw Flink this morning, like 5 out of the top 25 posts were basically bot posts that had a lot of likes because they bought likes. And so I introduced a new another dimension, which is distinct repliers, and so that
Hmm.
helped push the bot stuff down while keeping the interesting content up. Uh, I'm sure it's just going to need to continue to be tweaked as like if bots do find it like interesting to try to game the rankings on Flink. It'll be like a
I'm
continuing
sure
process, but for now, the newest algorithm works is pretty much the same, just a third dimension.
that you know that were introduced to the network in the past, I guess two or 3 days, and a lot of them found out or were registered on Farcaster through Flink, right? So I'm very curious. What is your observation on those users? What are they doing on Flink? Are they? Do you think they're mostly bots, or a lot of them are actually real users? So what's your observation on those people, or not, or on those accounts?
Yeah, so there's like two groups. Like I have to do some analysis this weekend to figure out uh what's the activity level on Flink, like how many people are casting on it through casting through Flink versus Warpcast, etc. I haven't done any of that yet, but just from like looking at the signups, there's definitely a lot of bots, and I don't have a good number exactly how many, but there's also a lot of real users. So it's like I don't know, like off the top of my head, maybe 50-50, but or maybe like more bots and less people. It's hard to say right now, but I have seen like a lot of people that are real users message me in Twitter DMs or replying to my posts on Twitter about how it was an easy process for them and how they liked the onboarding flow because and I posted this yesterday, but just for the crypto native audience, it's just like an easier process where if they're gonna go check out this Farcaster thing, they just pop open a new tab and connect their wallet, and they're basically in.
And I'm looking at the data right now. I think as of an hour ago, Flink has onboarded almost 1,900 users versus Webcast is so Flink is 1,897 and Webcast is 928. So Flink has doubled the number of users Webcast has brought in. So again, great job. This is fantastic. So can you talk about how those users found out about Flint in the first place? Was it mostly on Twitter or on some other sources?
Yeah, I think it was mostly on Twitter. Like I posted about it, and it sort of just got traction. I think like again, like it's the interesting thing, and the reason I think people like gravitated towards it is it's a non-intensive process to use Farcaster, and that was basically my goal. Like longer term, I think the way that Flink onboards is not the right model. It's actually what Dan and team are doing with Warpcast because that's how you get normal everyday users to basically like create accounts and basically use Farcaster. But I was just more focused on getting like the people we have in the space right now to check out Farcaster.
Yeah, and I read somewhere, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I read somewhere that if a user is registered outside of Webcast today, they can't really use Webcast right away unless they export their seed phrase, right? Is that correct? Or even if they export their seed phrase, can they use it on Webcast?
No, they can't. They so Dan and team are we're going to work on this. Right now, it's not possible to import an external seed phrase into Warpcast.
Before permissionless day, most of the activities and 100% of signups happened on Webcast. And now we're starting to see that shift. So I'm personally very, very excited to see that happening. I'm looking at the Flink website right now. It says 35 users online. And the definition here is that they have casted or reacted in the past 5 minutes. So again, quite impressive. I think 20 minutes ago I checked, it was around 50. So it means a lot of those people are active. And can you
Actually,
talk a bit
let me
about?
add a caveat.
Yes, go
Let me add
ahead.
a caveat there. That's actually across Farcaster. That's not just Blink.
Oh, got it. So that's 35
Yeah.
users active on the protocol.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Okay. Do you know how many of them are active on Flink?
No, so this is what I'm ready to do this weekend is pull a lot more data and figure out what that percentage is. It's interesting data point because if it's and actually I was the one that like pulled the onboarding data because I wanted to basically make the case for the protocol that it's not just Warpcast. And so it'll be interesting to see this weekend, and I'm sure I'll share it on. I'll share it once I have that.
Good. Yeah. And I was about to say that can you talk a bit more about sort of your your future plan for this client? Well, what are some of the things that you're looking to add in the next several weeks?
Yeah, so I mean, as time permits, because I usually only work on Blink on weekends and maybe nights. Uh, there's a few things I want to explore. I actually have a pretty big list, but I'll just pick a few for now. I actually want to do videos because everyone's been asking for it, and Warpcast isn't going to do it anytime soon. So I'll do it. My
Great.
mantra right now is just give people what they want that they can't get out of Warpcast, and just see what happens. And then the second thing, let's see, is I want to do more around like user recommendations. I don't know what that looks like yet, but basically find interesting people that you may care about. Right now, like I have a basic like users table which shows like who's the most active, but it doesn't really um, help you find people in like your follower or following graph. Um,
Hmm.
and that's usually like a more interesting set of users. Third thing is I want to I want to add more like hotkeys and like keyboard use, like uh, easy to use like keyboard shortcuts, kind of like what HeroCast is doing, and make it PWA so that you can have it as a desktop app or a mobile app. Though it's highly optimized for desktop usage. And then the last thing I'll say, I still have more, but and you'll probably see some stuff coming out this weekend. Is I want to just explore more stuff on the protocol side and like figure out like what kind of FIPs to push for or what kind of standards that we should, as a protocol, have that will enable like more interesting content on Farcaster.
Yeah, and then just a quick comment on the feature list that you just mentioned. That I think it'll be very useful to have a way to recommend users, on a network, especially since that we're getting a lot more new people coming in. I spend a lot of time on Farcaster every day, but now I realize that there are some accounts that are quite active, but I've never heard of, right? So I mean, we definitely need something like that. And also the other thing is, I think we talk about this a little bit on the Farcaster, which is, to surface new users, recent users that have that have just joined the network. I remember the desktop app used to have a tab that's called recent, and you can see all the new users. But I think they removed that on mobile and the web. But I think it's still a very interesting feature to see sort of what are the batch of people coming into the network now, and at least that's what I'm personally interested in. Um,
Right. Yeah.
and yeah, and you mentioned that you want to sort of spend more time on the protocol level. And this brings me to my next question, which is I actually want to ask you, what do you think? What do you think of the current sort of architecture of Forecaster? What do you like the most? And is there anything that you would have done a bit differently?
Oh, that's tough because I haven't really thought about it in that way. I actually like it. I don't think there's anything I would have really changed at the moment. I think it's kind of hard to say because it's still at its core a very simple protocol, which is good because we can always add like new types of things in the future. Um, uh, yeah, I don't know. I like. I'll say that the one thing I do like that is might be a bit I don't know if it's controversial, but I know like people that like I talk to about Farcaster like ask me like why aren't all the casts on chain? And I think the decision for that is interesting. I like that the only thing that really needs to be on chain is the identity and the payment aspect of it. It's kind of a different model almost than a lot of apps which try to put a lot of things, if not everything, on chain.
Yeah, and I think it. I really agree with what you said about Forecaster being a simple protocol. It is actually pretty simple because there's no consensus. There's no in anything that you know that 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 would complicate the protocol and add a lot of overhead. It's literally just a peer-to-peer data storage plus identity layer, and then plus some other stuff. But like on its core, it is a peer-to-peer data storage network, and it's pretty simple, but it works. So
Exactly.
that's why I like it. Um,
I'll also say, wait,
and
before you continue,
yeah,
I'll also say that I I did realize like things that I would change. One thing is like, and these kind of go hand in hand. One thing is I don't like the 320 character limit. I wish that people could post more long form content on Farcaster. And obviously, the next question, the immediate question is like, oh, that's gonna like use up a lot of storage. Well, I think there might that it would be interesting if basically like storage costs were flexible. So like based on how much you use on how many characters a single cast is, it uses a different amount of storage, and then you can buy like buy storage more flexibly as well. Uh, those kinds of things could be interesting, and maybe it'll make its way into the protocol in the future. But I think like just by having those two things, it just makes for more interesting type of content in general.
And 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 I think the other thing is that there's no native way to sort of to even display media content on a protocol. I mean, everything is just a string. I mean, it's not even a
Yeah,
link; it's just a string to the embed. So, like if I had to pick one, I would say it's to add more sort of native media types, so that the clients can share the information about what type of cast it is. Is it a video? Is it an audio, or just text, or is it a combination of both? Um, anyway, the other thing that I want to touch on is the work that you do at Manifold, which is also very interesting. And I think you know this probably ties a bit to the the stuff that we talk about related to Farcaster, because there are a lot of NFT activities on Farcaster as well. But just to set the conversation. Can you describe what is Manifold, and why is it different from other sort of NFT platforms, NFT tools?
yeah, for sure. For those that don't know Manifold, Manifold basically provides creator tools. So different ways to empower creators to basically reach their audiences through like drops or minting tokens or deploying their own contract. Manifold was actually the first to start giving creators sovereign contracts, which is basically just contracts that they own versus shared contracts like OpenSea or Super Rare that creators used to mint on. Um, since then, Manifold's evolved and has done a number of things. One thing Manifold's known for is their partnerships. So we work with a lot of creators and brands and uh, auction houses like Christie's, and powered a lot of their tech, and also provided kind of new and like engaging experiences. We do a lot of innovative partnerships. Like most recently, we did a partnership with Philo World. We powered Philosis's whole experience, and that took advantage of like uh, ERC 6551, which is the new token bound standard, which we helped develop. Um, and yeah, so our core product really for everyday creators is Studio, where you can, like I said, deploy your own contracts, mint tokens, and set up uh, claim pages, which is open editions or limited editions, and then also do things like burn, redeem, auctions, you name it.
And then what do you work on at Manifold? I assume it's like all things engineering, or
Yeah, so I joined Manifold 6 months ago. Previous to that, I was at OpenSea, where I led the protocol team. So at OpenSea, I was responsible for all of our smart contracts, most notably Seaport, all of our blockchain interactions, our indexers, our metadata fetchers, pretty much anything that relates to Web3 and running that at scale. Um, and since I joined Manifold, it's almost like the same role, except now it's like kind of running the entire engineering org. So we have a bunch of good engineers and like helping set product direction, and just like providing like good insight into technical architecture and mostly like the on-chain components.
yeah. And just if I understand correctly, because I look at the studio, the Manifold studio the other day, and it is a sort of highly customizable tool that allows you to create different kind of contract, right? So I guess I mean, you don't have to write code for that, but you get to choose what type of NFT collections that you can create, right? Can you talk a bit about sort of the flexibility there. What kind of things can you do with the studio?
Yeah, so Manifold creator contracts are basically no code deployed contracts. It makes it really easy for any individual creator to have a sovereign contract without knowing how to code. And from there, we have the way that it's developed is there's a concept around extensions, and extensions allow you to do different types of experiences on your contract. So one experience is an open edition. Another experience is burn redeem, where you can take an existing token, burn it for another token. Then you can do stuff like auctions or minting one of ones. And then we also have like theoretically you can also do stuff like collectibles like 10K PFP collections. We just don't support that right now. And the possibilities are kind of endless. You can provide any and all types of functionality through it. We actually have a number of extensions we've written that we've never actually even published. We just kind of have been experimenting with them. And there's been a number of extensions that we've done with partners. And we've also had independent third-party developers build their own extensions off of Manifold contracts. So it's really flexible. And our goal through Studio is to basically provide no code and an easy to understand interface for creators to basically utilize these extensions.
Yeah, and so going back to this, to Farcaster, I guess the intersection of Farcaster and NFTs, you know, what is your view on sort of combining NFTs with Web3 social, specifically Farcaster? Obviously, today on Webcast, you can you can share NFTs directly, and then there's a mint button that takes you to the minting site. But what do you think in the future we can? What are some of the ways that we can combine NFTs with Web3 social?
Yeah, so I think like the current model that Warpcast has is nice, but I think everyone knows that it would be nicer if you could just mint with an app. So like this is like minting an NFT is like one specific use case of a more broader category that I think is interesting is transactional casts. So basically it'd be interesting if you could have casts that have some specific schema for different types of transactions, and clients can parse that and basically embed transactions directly into your experience so that you don't actually have to leave that client to transact. Things like not like minting an NFT is one simple thing, but there could be other things like voting in a DAO, right? Like you can have vote buttons directly in your client. You could have things like, might be silly, but maybe like a swap on Uniswap or something. I don't know. And the possibilities are kind of endless if you just have that transactional capability directly in the client. And focusing on NFTs is just like one like use case of that experience.
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges that I think we're all aware is the sort of app store policies, right? I think one of the reasons why Webcast doesn't allow you to mint in the app is because Apple is going to take a significant cut of the transaction. So have you seen any sort of mobile applications that have combined social experience with
No, I mean exactly what you said. Because of app policies, like we don't really see that. But I think it's totally possible that we start seeing that with the latest hype around PWAs and having those as basically being crypto apps. Like we saw FriendTech, right? That has basically functionality. It has transacting functionality, and it's basically a social product. So you can imagine someone builds, and Flink probably will end up doing this, is PWA that you can connect your wallet, scroll through your Farcaster feed, and then also just transact directly through there as well.
I agree that I don't think there's any other there's any mobile application that will allow you to directly mint. I mean, I guess the only workaround is to send you to the wallet. But even if you do that, probably Apple doesn't agree with some of the things that you do if it's a transaction, right? So I guess on the point of PWAs, I have very mixed feelings about sort of having having an app that is not native. I'm curious how you think about sort of PWAs as a potential way to create a sticky social experience. So to friend tag is PWA, yes, but it is a high ticket and it is a high ticket transaction application, and you probably don't need to use it every single day. At least compared to things like webcasts, you would open webcasts a lot more often than friend tag. But I'm curious if you think PWAs will offer the same level of performance for applications that is more sticky, more frequent, like well.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure because I personally have not played around that much with PWAs, but I feel like there will, like, even if it's like a more minified experience, I feel like that might be good enough for this use case. And I think that's why it might work for Flink, because Flink is never. I personally don't want to build a mobile first experience because there's plenty of other apps that do that. And the minified version of building a mobile experience is just turning the existing app into a PWA. So yeah, I personally don't know the performance benefits and downsides of PWA versus like a native app. I mean, I can off the top of my head just assume that a native app is going to be better. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got it. By the way, for people in the audience, if you have any questions, you can request to speak, or you can type it in the chat. In the remaining maybe 5-10 minutes, I want to ask what are some of the things sort of whether it's in the Farcaster ecosystem or the Web3 ecosystem broadly that you are most excited to see in the next 1 or 2 years, and anything that excites you personally?
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally just mostly looking forward to continue to play with Farcaster and see how it matures and develops. I think there's a lot of interesting things and a specific niche that it's gonna serve that's different from like Lens or other like traditional decentralized social platforms. I mean, I'm excited for all the stuff we kind of talked about and just seeing it come to life. In the general Web3 space, the funny thing is like when people ask me what am I excited about in the space, I usually say Farcaster. So like the opposite side when I have to say something not
Great.
Farcaster is kind of harder. But I'm excited about what we're doing at Manifold. And I think others like Zora are also thinking about things in the same way. Is like doing away a lot with like the not traditional, but like the previous model of like how people thought about NFTs. Like up until now, like NFTs were kind of, I mean, it's very obvious. It was all fueled by speculative behavior for the most part. And now that we're kind of over that like bump, we can kind of focus on like more actual meaningful use cases. One of the things that we're working on Manifold is we're trying to help shift this narrative away from minting and selling to publishing content and like putting more focus on the provenance part of the NFT. And then like the other thing related to NFTs that I'm more excited about and what I want to see in like the next year or two is just this is like a hottish take, I think, and I'm like known to like be an advocate for this. Is I want to just kind of rebuild the like the concept of an NFT on Ethereum or any EVM chain. I don't think like the metadata formats and stuff like that is what is honestly like what anyone outside of the space would be okay with. Uh, it's kind of just the nature, like it just kind of came as the nature of how NFTs grew. But I really think in order to be successful, we need to like think more about verticals versus generalized NFTs. So things like music NFTs and uh, I don't know, tickets. There's like no reason that they should be following the same formats. They are very different use cases, and they're kind of both restricted by trying to adhere to a generic format. Obviously, from a marketplace perspective or like OpenSea's perspective, they want things to be general because then they can capture a lot of that like interest. But from like an actual utility perspective, it doesn't really make sense for those types of things to be generic. Um, so yeah, I want to start seeing that shift, and I mean, at Manifold, we're going to help push for that kind of stuff. One of the other thing that the last thing I'll say that I'm really excited about is Frame, which is a new chain that's being worked on, L2-3 off of Arbitrum, that's focused around NFTs, and they're trying to actually do things differently, where they're building basically like trying to reimagine what it means to be an NFT on an L2. And I say that as in like they're building custom functionality and trying to incentivize royalty enforcement and things that are more interesting than just like here's a chain with cheaper transaction costs, which is at this point like I feel like we have already too many L2s. So it's really nice to see someone that's
Yeah,
offering like a fresh perspective on it.
that you hope to see the sort of NFT metadata standard or the entire NFT structure sort of rebuilt. So can you talk a bit about what do you think the structure should be? For different types of.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually just that like it should be like a ecosystem wide discussion. It's to me like the way that NFT metadata right now is if all NFTs were basically .txt files, but in reality, when you think about like files, they're all different formats. They're PNG or they're JPEGs or they're MP3s, and they all have their own basically different encoding schemes and different metadata related to that. And that's how we should, in my mind, be thinking about NFTs versus just continuing with the model where everything is following the same format.
I have a very random question, because what you said about NFTs reminded me of what Zora did in the past several months, which was to split the rewards with the creators. And I'm curious, what do you think of sort of their strategy of first, charging a minting fee and then sort of revenue share that with the creators? Do you think that is something that we'll see get adopted more widely in the industry, or it's something that only they can?
No, I think that makes sense. I think any sort of rev share or even like things like referrals are, I don't know, that's what's going to drive a lot of excitement and basically drive a lot of transactions. I think like people like Daylight are doing a lot around referrals, and it's cool to see. At some point, Manifold will also do something with referrals, just not sure when. We're kind of ideating there. But yeah, I think what Zora's doing is awesome, and I think it makes total sense for others to adopt it.
Thing very similar to what Farcaster is doing. although Farcaster are not doing anything any NFT, which is I think Zora and Farcaster are both farming the farmers. Um, I think the reason why a lot of Zora NFT collections can get so many revenues, it's because there are a lot of potential airdrop farmers that want to get the free mints. And probably it's similar to some of the people that are signing up for Farcaster, at least in the recent couple of days, trying to see if they can get airdrops. And then I feel like that is actually a good business model, because then you can share a lot of that minting fees with the creator. And I guess in the Farcaster case, you could potentially share the storage fees with the protocol developers. Although they're not doing it right now, but I guess in the future they will. So I guess this is just a random comment that I just thought of, because we were talking about revenue sharing. And then lastly, I guess before we sort of wrap up the conversation, I would love to hear more about your backstories. You mentioned a bit about you were working at OpenSea and now you're at Manifold, but could you talk about how you sort of got into crypto? What have you worked on either professionally or personally? Before OpenSea, in basically your personal journey in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got into crypto in 2017, and it won't be a surprise to people when I say that it was because I was trying to make a lot of money off of trading. I think that's like many people's story is
Yeah,
the
of
same.
course.
Join in 2017 to make money and then just stick around because you find out that the tech is interesting. So yeah, that's how I got in, and then I kind of took a step back, didn't really follow. I casually followed the space until 2020 when COVID hit. I had a lot more free time. Again, I feel like this is similar to a lot of people's story that I talked to. And then around time DeFi summer came around, I was very interested again because first of all, like in my mind, there's actually something interesting happening with like smart contracts and Ethereum that I just wanted to be a part of and understand how it all worked. So actually, I started working on I started helping out people that were building DeFi protocols. I was working on a lending protocol for a bit, doing some open source contributions. The entire time that I was working at AWS, but like I was spending the majority of my work day on like open source and crypto stuff, while spending very little time at my actual job. And so eventually it was just like, okay, I need to just make the full time jump into the space. And so yeah, like summer 2021, before like the NFT bull market really picked up, I was looking at a few companies in the space, and then really really liked Alex Satala from OpenSea, and I was following him for a bit, and then talked to him, and he convinced me to join OpenSea, and yeah, that's how I kind of got into space. When I joined OpenSea, it was pretty small. It was like 15 to 20 people, and then we grew to like 350 people. So yeah, I kind of went through the whole bull market with them.